And also, and live on Facebook. Soon as it goes live, you can share it, like I had said. And then you can take it down afterwards, and I'll get you the YouTube version.
Perfect.
The amazing Tommy Throwback KOVAC. That's funny. All right.
Thank you.
Go live. No questions for me?
Nope, I'm ready to go. I'm all yours.
Okay, I'll do the intro and then we can start rattling off stuff about your life, your comedy. Okay.
Okay.
Facebook, how you doing? It's your girl Linda Marcus Smith. This show is not about me. Every time I say I, you get to take a drink. Let's see who out there gets drunk. I'm trying not to say I, okay? Try to make this about my guest this time. All righty. Well, as you know, this is Comic Spot. This is comedy interview, probably number 1140 something. Who counts? But the main thing is today, you're going to get to know another professional in the comedy world. Yes, you are. He's sitting there patiently waiting. And today, I'll say his name at the end because that's what we do. We keep you guessing. Today, we have a pop culture nerd. Yeah, we're going to find out what that is for you folks. He's sometimes a comedian, not a bad thing. Sometimes a comedian. He's a belly button enthusiast. Let's find out what that is. I thought I was when I was 5, but guess not. And he has a story for every situation. Welcome to the stage right here, right now, Tommy Throwback KOVAC. Woo! Hi, Tommy. Are you there, Tommy?
Asking me to come back.
What?
Yes. How are you today?
Fabulous. How are you, Tommy?
Fabulous. Just beyond fabulous. It's so great to be back with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you had me on your amazing show. Tell people about your amazing show. And then we're going to start back with little Tommy growing up again. I like to take people through the whole thing, the whole McGilligan Gorilla.
Yeah.
Tommy, tell us about what you're up to right now with your show that you have.
Oh, I've got some real toe curlers coming up the next few weeks. I've got all these great cult movie people coming on. I've got legendary creature and makeup artist Frank Dietz coming on. I've got Sissy Wellman, who's the daughter of the legendary old Hollywood filmmaker William Wellman. I've got character actor Lee Ehrenberg, who you may remember from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I've got finger bang expert Allison Moon coming on. I've I might have Gene Wilder's widow coming on. I got to check my email later for that. And Lucinda Dickey from the Break-In movies, which I'm so excited about. I've wanted her on since the very beginning. And yesterday was a really good birthday present to find out she said yes. So I'm happy about that.
Wonderful. That's fabulous. Tell people like about the premise of your show and who, how many interviews and what it's all about because it's amazing. I want people to really get the nuggets of your show, where to find it, how many people what type of people you interview. It's so interesting.
Well, I mean, the premise is I nerd out on all my idols that I grew up watching, asking about all their movies because I'm a true fan and stuff, all my personal favorites and what have you. I have real talk. It's not showbiz fluff where everything is okay and everybody's great or any of that stuff. It's very candid and honest. And I talk to people about real life things. I do sex positivity episodes, which I do more so in May, but I've got some holdovers coming up, like the one I just mentioned with Alison the moon and stuff. And yeah, I just talk about the things I'm interested in: pop culture, film, television, music, comedy, sex, all that stuff.
Super. And how many interviews have you done?
As of today, 2110.
Yay! I can finally look up to somebody. Yay!
I'm going to be excited when it's 2112 because I love that Rush album, 2112.
You are a nerd. Pop culture. What? Okay, we're gonna go into your childhood in a minute, but right now, what got you started in being a pop culture nerd? What? When did you transition into being a nerd about pop culture, Tommy?
It's been ingrained in my personality and my soul since day one. I mean, my mom worked for the cable company. My brother, who's 9 years older than me, recorded everything off HBO. We had all the teen sex comedy movies. Uh, we had stand-up comedy specials. We had everything, and it was just always my happy place because I got bullied a lot as a kid. I was the big kid in school, and I had a few friends, but not many, and I just needed a happy place to go to. And so pop culture has always been my happy place. And once I got older, when I was like 9, 10, 11, I started getting more and more curious about what I was watching. So I watched a lot of A&E biographies, film documentaries. My dad bought me the Rolling Stone encyclopedia to rock and roll, where I learned about punk rock, and I got into punk rock by that point and stuff. And yeah, and then when the internet came, it became very easy to find out stuff. So yeah, it's just always been a part of who I am. And it's funny. I want to challenge people who are so negative about me to like a pop culture trivia contest because I know I'll kick their asses in it. And these are other podcasters too. And I don't know how they have a following because they are just awful, awful people, you know.
Well, tell me, in pop culture, what interview has still eluded you that you've got to get before you kick the bucket?
Bucket list guests. Lately, I've been wanting Carney Wilson from Wilson Phillips on the show, and I know people who know her, but they don't seem very interested in connecting me with her, and it's rightly so because she just started a cooking show. I know, but it's still possible it could happen, and I hope it does because she has no filter. She's very funny, and like I think we would have a great conversation.
Nice. I love that. Okay. We already had you on, and so I know that you already told me, but for those watching that didn't see your first episode here on Comics, but please tell everybody like how you grew up. Who was little Tommy when you were 5, when you were 7, 10, 12? How'd you grow up? What crafted you into the amazing person you are today?
I was very shy. I was very quiet. Like I said, I had few friends, but the ones that I did have, I kept very close to me. And it took me a lot of years to get confident and stuff. Since my car crash in 2015, I've probably been the most, yes, you look like Elton John with those, oh my God, or Jackie O. And so like once I had my car crash in 2015, it made me more confident. And I've been probably the most confident and the most articulate that I've ever been. Like I go back and I listen to certain episodes of my podcast, and I'm like, how did I know that? Especially 5 years ago. I'm like, how did I know that? It's so insane.
Yes.
Life life is full of surprises.
So you were a bit of a nerd, quiet, and got teased a lot. And so the way that
Uh,
you got even or coped was learning a lot. Is that correct?
Learning a lot about what I love.
Yeah.
Yes, because I gotta tell you, if you asked me questions about science or biology or chemistry or stuff like that. I couldn't tell you a single thing about it, but if you ask me about pop culture, I could give you like 90 anecdotes about it because that's just who I am and that's what interests me, you know. I mean, there's little things here and there I can tell you about those subjects, but I couldn't give you 90 anecdotes about any of those things. I know nothing about that stuff.
So did you pay attention in school? Did you nearly flunk everything but what you were interested in? What kind of student were you?
Okay, so in the early years, like K through two, I had a real struggle. I got diagnosed with a learning disorder. Oh my God, my handwriting has never been good. I scribbled on like math tests and stuff, and I just wrote very big. By the time I got to another school in middle of second grade, I became a good student for a couple of years. But then in fifth grade, I started missing a lot of school all the way till eighth grade. Social services tried to get involved a few times, and I just struggled. And then once I got to high school, um, my middle school special ed teacher got hired by the school to teach there, and he was my teacher there as well. And without him, I would have been lost. I probably would have failed. And I had a perfect attendance while I was in high school. I missed maybe 2 days a year total if I was sick, and it was fantastic. So my education in high school was up and down, you know, but I graduated high school, and that's a miracle because my brother, he dropped out his sophomore year. He just couldn't handle it. He got his GED later, but my mom, she was like, no, you are going to graduate, and that's all there is to it, and you're going to graduate from my high school. But the high school that my mom, my dad, my uncles all went to, because my brother went to another one. So I did, and it was fantastic.
What city did you go to school in?
San Mateo, and I went to San Mateo High School, which is also the high school that Barry Bostwick went, and Chris Christopherson and Murph Griffin and Dennis Haysbert, who was in my mom's graduating class. I have a picture on Facebook of me and him and my dad when I was 5 at a high school reunion picnic they had.
That's incredible, incredible. So
Yeah,
you nerd out on pop culture, and then all of a sudden you decide you're going to interview your icons. That takes a lot of chutzpah, a lot of
it
balls.
does. A lot of chutzpah. And I'll tell you, you know, I didn't think I was going to do more than 10 in the beginning. And yet I've heard that from most people who start a podcast because I gotta say, I've listened to podcasts that only lasted 10 episodes and they were so good. I was like, why did this person stop? Why didn't this person keep going? It's a lot of work and a lot of drive, and of course life will get in the way. I've been very blessed. I mean, I've had minor things in life get in the way the last 7 years I've been doing it, but I never stopped it for any long period of time other than 2 weeks to move, and that's about it. You know, because I do it year round. I don't do seasons like a lot of people do.
How many years have you been doing it?
7 years. I celebrated 7 on May 15th.
So what was the moment, the catalyst, the thought that made you go, okay, I'm going to go see if I'm any good at this? Or did you know you were going to be great?
I did not know I was going to be great. I can tell you that. I just was going to like, I have a track record of failing. I'll try to fail at this the most, you know. So when I was in the hospital, yeah, when I was in the hospital, I was listening to Mark Maron like constantly on his podcast, and I didn't know it existed. It had been around about 6 years by
Who's?
that point. Mark Maron, WTF with Mark Maron. So I listened to it like every day, and I was like, wow, I I have never heard anything like this before because he's talking to celebrities about real shit, and the word shit and fuck come up a lot in this show. And I'm like, I have never heard that on any interview show ever. He's getting celebrities to swear. I'm like, if I could do a show, this is what I would do, you know? So I got out of the hospital June of 15. By January 2016, I started to play with the idea of starting a podcast, and I was going to get comedians on, and all the comedians from the Bay Area. They were not interested in joining this venture with me because they're all dicks. and I didn't think about reaching out to others yet. So I got discouraged for a while. So then in July of 2016, I went to go see Kevin Smith at the San Jose Improv do a screening of his new movie, Yoga Hosers. And he gave a speech about how he pioneered podcasting and how the medium at that point was starting to pick up and more people were starting to do podcasts, right? And he was encouraging people to try it in this speech. And I'm sure he doesn't do that now because there's too many. But at that time, it was like the right place at the right time. And it inspired me to try it again. I was like, okay, once my mother and I finally get a place to live, because we were homeless for a few years during this point, I am going to start my podcast. And I did. And I wanted to start it right away from the time we moved in, but I was sick for a couple of weeks. It was partially because of stress, because I had never been away from home. I lived in the Bay Area for 34 years, and we moved up to Redding for 6 years at that point, and it was stressful. It made me sick. So I waited until May 14th. I did my first interview with 80s cult movie actress Diane Franklin, who I hadn't met yet. I had met so many celebrities at conventions for a year leading up to that point, but I took a real gamble with her, and she's very friendly and approachable. She loves everybody. Like I was in good hands from day one, and I was nervous as hell. It took me a long time to get over being nervous. Occasionally, I do get nervous again if I'm interviewing somebody super iconic and I'm afraid that I'm going to say the wrong thing or ask the same question they've answered a million times. I still get nervous. But other than that, I have been so confident.
Absolutely. What's your greatest strength and your biggest non-strength in your podcast?
My biggest strength, probably I can, because I can get so many people to open up about things. I studied a little bit of psychology online when I was in my early 20s, and without even me realizing it for a long time, I think that's why I was meant to study psychology when I was 20 to learn how to tap into people's consciousness. My biggest flaw, I don't know. I mean, I get a lot of criticism because my podcast is black screen and there's no pictures put up and all of that stuff. I just wanted to be different. I just wanted to get your attention just by the audio only words and not worry about a visual. But like, as in terms of a flaw, sometimes the phone will start dying early or something, and I have to switch phones. That would probably be the closest to a flaw. Other than that, I think everything's all good.
That's fabulous. What's the biggest lesson you learned interviewing? It was tough. It kicked you back for a day or two or a week, but then you came out stronger.
Biggest the biggest lesson I have learned to read the room when it comes to engaging people with humor. I didn't learn that lesson when I did stand up, I'll tell you, and I'm kind of glad I didn't at that time. I have stories to last for a lifetime with that, but I've learned to learn to read the room and stuff, and it's really worked well for me last few years.
How do you read the room in a podcast?
Well, okay, so you listen to them talk and you listen to whether or not they're swearing, whether or not they're going full candid about, let's say, like doing nudity on screen or something like that, or anything regarding nudity or anything. And like, if they're like, an activist type who's like, woke today and saying things like, oh, I don't like that kind of humor, it's not appropriate, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. You have to read the room that way when you're doing a podcast interview that's audio only.
Very good. Good information for other podcasters. Super.
Mhm.
So you grew up and you went through high school by the skin of hair on your chinny chin chin like I did. And then did you try college or learning a trade or go straight to the workforce? You and your mom, you were doing a lot with your mom.
Well, I took nine. I for 9 months after I graduated high school, I took care of my grandmother. She was not well. The biggest gift of my life is that she got to be at my high school graduation ceremony because I didn't think we didn't think she was going to make it. I She spent a lot of time in the hospital during my high school years, and it was very, very painful and sad for me. But thank God she pulled through. So I took care of her for 9 months. 9/11 happened during that time. Oh, she was so paranoid. Every time she heard an airplane fly over her head, she thought that someone was going to drop a bomb or something. It was
Yeah,
really, really devastating, you know.
totally.
And she remembers seeing news reports about the Holocaust. I mean, it was hard for her.
It can cause
So
a
she
heart.
passes
I
away in
had a
February.
great I had a great aunt that died of a heart attack in Berlin after long after, like in
Yeah,
the 70s, because it triggered her back to World War II.
yeah, it's awful. So she dies in February of '02. Um, my mom told me springtime she thought it would be very good for me to go to junior college. So I was not into it, but I was like, you know what, I should just give it a try because I got nothing else to do. So I start junior college at the College of San Mateo. It's shortened to CSM, and we all jokingly say College of Small Minds. So I take a film class there. I take a English class there, and the whole time I'm just not focused. I'm thinking about my grandmother a lot because she was a big driving force in my life. And I had friends that were smoking pot in the courtyard of the college, and I was with them, and I got into smoking cigarettes socially for a little bit, and thank God I stopped. It's been 20 years since I even touched a cigarette, and I just was not focused. And I'm learning about shit in that English class I had no interest in. Like we had to read the Joy Luck Club, right? And I saw the movie, I read the book, I didn't understand it. And so I wrote this smart ass essay that I was supposed to write. It's saying things like, the book has 12 chapters and it's a masterpiece in its own right and all this crap. Just and she was pretty pissed off, I remember. And then in film class, all I did was correct the teacher every time he was wrong about something. Yeah. And on the last day of the semester, which was a week before Christmas, they came to me personally and told me not to return next semester. And then the principal told me don't return at all next semester. So then I said to my mom, I said, okay, well, I have a plan. I want to try stand up comedy and I want to try to act. And she's like, I support you, baby, but those are unrealistic goals right now because we need you need some steady income and stuff and all that stuff, right? Well, I fell down a rabbit hole of depression that started when she died that February, just stuffing my face and eating junk food and renting movies. And renting those movies, I gotta tell you, it really prepared me for the future with the podcast because I discovered a lot of stuff I had never seen before during that time. And it was a real gift. And I romanticized that time a lot because it was just so wonderful. So I never went back to college. There's a part of me that wishes that I had tried one more time, but it worked out for the best. It worked out.
Who's your favorite actor?
Tom Hanks.
Why?
It's funny. He kind of reminds me of my brother, and my brother and I have kind of a strained relationship. His personification reminds me of like the stable relationship I wish I had with my brother in some strange way. And I just love how he's loud and funny in the comedies, but he's got so much depth when he acts. When he does drama, I just think that he is amazing, and he really is the modern Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah,
I hope we never find out that um those Pizzagate accusations are true because I just freaking love that guy. He is just an amazing, amazing actor. And I've met people who have told me stories about him just being so kind and generous, you know, and all that stuff. So yeah, I love Tom
absolutely.
Hanks.
Have you
Yeah.
reached out to have him on for an interview?
that ain't gonna happen. He is that huge. I mean, I have seen some rinky dink podcasts that have a lot of followers, like, have him on and stuff, but I just, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could face that kind of rejection. You know, I know I
I
sound like
guess
George McFly. I sound like George McFly in Back to the Future, which is my favorite movie of all time.
I quote it all the time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you go through high school and then you went into the work. What kind of jobs did you just went straight from that to comedy, right? From college?
Well, no, this is what happened after junior college. So yeah, I just sat on my ass for a couple of years, and then in 2005, um, we were living right behind a Long's drugstore before it became CVS. And we were there a lot. And my mom said, you might as well apply over there since we're there a lot, and they're nice people and stuff. Well, I found out later they weren't so nice. I got the job there. I was there from May of 2005 to February of 2007. And I have some good memories, but a lot of bad memories. I guess I did something that one should never do. Was that was be friends with coworkers because they're just so backstabbing. Especially since they were younger than I was by about 4 years or so, and then there were some that were older than me. One person I absolutely cherished. I just found out recently she passed away after she moved, and I found out who her son was, and I offered my condolences. I haven't heard back, but I hope I do someday. His mother and we spend many, many nights working late night and just telling each other funny stories and just having a blast, you know. But that whole work environment wasn't great. And then I worked in the bar business for 7 years as a bouncer. That will be a book someday. I got laid so much in those places that I could write a book. It was insane. It was
Wow.
like Studio 4. It was that wild. And I worked other jobs like at Mervin's and Kmart, and I was a security guard. I got myself a guard card. I took the test and everything. I worked at Menlo College. You know, that job was good for about 5 or 6 weeks, and then when the kids came back, it turned to shit. And I got fired. I didn't get fired from the company. I got fired from the college. What happened was there was this rich spoiled girl, because they're all spoiled and rich at that school, right? She was not supposed to be at the gym after 9 o'clock, and she literally had entitlement. She literally said, I don't have to fucking listen to you, and shit, my dad's so and so or whatever, right? And so finally, after like fighting her for a few minutes with her friend, they fucking finally left, right? So a day or two later, I'm in the gym doing something, and her and the basketball team, they were literally like bad mouthing me and insulting me, all of them, and just making snide comments and stuff, right? She said something to me, I can't remember what it was, in front of the whole basketball team, right? And I said to her, don't worry, I'm not offended. She's been sucking dick since she was 2. And they all started laughing and stuff. And then next thing I know, I'm fired. And I'm like, good. I'm not going to let her talk to me like that. I was doing my job.
Exactly. So then what did you do after that?
After that, I worked the holiday season over at Cost Plus World Market. I was a stock boy at like 2 a.m. And then my accident happened a month later, and then I haven't had a job like that since.
What accident?
Oh, my car accident happened. You know, Me and this guy, we were just hanging out. We've known each other for years. I thought he was my friend. He was a complete putz, is what he was. And we were just hanging out, and then I fell asleep in the passenger seat. He fell asleep at the wheel. We ended up in the middle of the road. We got out okay, and then a car collided with ours. The impact hit us. I got the worst of the injuries. I was in a coma for 30 days. Yeah,
So sorry.
it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I wouldn't be here right now. I was a loose cannon. I was a wreck during that time.
And that straightened you out.
Yeah. Oh, I just did not give a fuck. I wanted to die. I wanted to be arrested. I was just like, the world owes me. Fuck you. That was my attitude at that time, right? But God had another plan for me, and I'm here right now.
Wow, what a story. What a story. You said that you're a belly button enthusiast. So
Yes.
I need you to deliver. You need to explain.
Yes. When I was 6 years old, I had a girlfriend, and she came from Texas to the school. All the girls in my first grade class were mean to me. They gave me Valentines because they had to, and they didn't mean it. I mean, they were they were awful to me. So she came halfway through the school year, and we immediately became friends. Um, my parents trusted her mom like instantly. I don't know. In hindsight, I don't know how that worked. They were kind of trailer trashy, but I would go over to her house. She would come over to my house. We would play doctor, and we would look at each other's belly buttons and play with them. And one time, she let me play with her belly button while we were watching a film strip in class with the lights darkened and everything. And I was like, she had an Audi, and I was like, "What's in there?" And she's like, "A baby." And when we got to junior high, we drifted apart. She tried to commit suicide in front of the whole school, but I wasn't there that day. I found out later. And then she went to the rival high school, and I didn't see her. And I always had this feeling like she was the girl that got away. And I wish I had been there for her in junior high. I was just so self involved and into what I was going through. And so I found her on MySpace, and I told her that story, and it weirded her out because she had forgotten all about it. And by that point, she was a drug addicted single mom, and she was in a loveless marriage and all that stuff. And she was just weirded out. And so I have no contact with her today, but she's the
Oh,
reason I love belly buttons. And so, like, every time I see a belly button, I think of her.
oh, that's so sweet. I love that. Okay, so you say you have a story for every situation. So you
Mhm.
get to pick a story from any situation, and then I'm going to give you a situation. I want to hear your story for it.
Oh, great. Well, I want to tell you about, the convention stories of meeting celebrities at the meet and greets. Those are a little bit more entertaining than the podcast ones because, when you're going to the meet and greets, funny things can happen and stuff. So I met Pee Wee Herman before he passed. Yeah. He was at Monster Palooza, the horror convention in Pasadena in 2019. My mom and we went there for an entire week, and we went to Monster Palooza. So we're waiting in line for 2 hours and 33 minutes about that time.
Wow.
Because it was that long. Everyone was coming from different parts of the country to meet Pee Wee at this convention. And this is really hard on my leg because I got metal in my leg from my accident, but this is worth it. So my mom and I are in line, and there was this cute half black, half white girl in line, and my mom is just asking her a million questions. My mom is a Pisces; she'll talk to anybody, and she loves making conversation and stuff. My mom goes to the bathroom, and I apologize to the girl. I was like, "I'm so sorry. My mom has permanent Care Bear DNA in her. I'm surprised she hasn't asked you what your favorite color is yet." And she laughed. So we get to so it's almost my turn to meet Pee Wee, and he gets up out of his seat and announces to everyone, "Hey everybody, I know this is too much information, but I really have to go to the bathroom." And everybody is like, "Oh, come on, we've been waiting forever, come on." And then he's like, "Okay, 10 more people." So he goes to sit back down, and it's my turn next. And he was the sweetest, most authentic, menschy guy I have ever heard. I mean, I've heard bad things about him too, but he was just a true mensch in that moment. And we had a mutual friend that I brought up, and he was so excited to hear about her. My friend Terry Bolo, she is a founding member of the Groundlings. Um, her last year at the Gremlings was Paul's first year, and they worked together there. And she was in a couple of the Pee Wee movies that he made.
What?
And we had a nice talk. We had a nice talk about it. We took a great picture. I had my hair was a little bit longer than usual, and it was popping out both sides. I was like, oh God, I wish I could have fixed that when I look at the picture now. But we took a nice picture, and he even gave me what did he give me? Oh, he gave me two signatures on the picture of him sitting on Cherry on Pee Wee's Playhouse. He's like, here's one for me, and here's one from Cherry on me, or something like that. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience, you know. And then one of the first cons I went to, I met Fred Williamson. And I know you said one story, but there's two for the price of one. I met Fred Williamson, the king of blaxploitation films, and he had a picture of him with the cast of MASH, the movie version that he was in. That was like his first movie, and he told me to name every actor in that cast, that's in the picture, and I did. And then he's like, very good. And I'm like, oh, does that mean I get the picture for free? And he was like, nah, man. So I was budgeting that day. And so I ended up not getting a picture or a selfie with him, which I regret. Hopefully, he's going to be coming on the podcast soon, so that'll make up for it. But that was a great experience too. So your turn.
Okay, I'm going to give you a situation.
Mhm.
I met a celebrity.
Mhm.
You have to come up with the story that goes with it.
Okay.
First you have to pick out which celebrity I met in
Okay.
person. Did I meet Raquel Welch or Vincent Price? Raquel
I,
Welch, Vincent Price.
I hope it's Vincent Price. I'm a huge Vincent Price fan.
It is. Now
All
you have to come up with a far better story than I have.
I interviewed his daughter twice.
What?
Yes. The first interview we did, we talked about her dad's career. She loves her dad. He was like 50 when she was born,
Wow.
right? And she grew up to be a lesbian, and she's just the most positive, supportive, awesome lady in the world and stuff. So the second interview was very awkward. She At that time I was trying to form friendships with like so many of my guests and have them on multiple times, which I did and I still do. But there were some people I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen with certain people, and she was one of them. So I asked her to come on the podcast again for Valentine's Day of 2020, and I wanted her to tell me, what she thought of what it's like being a lesbian and just falling in love, and being in love, and talk about Valentine's Day memories. My memories are negative, like the one I just told you, and stuff. And she comes on, and it was awkward. She just barely gave me anything, but she was still delightful. Don't get me wrong. And after a while, I just circled back to talking about her dad again, because some stuff came up that I didn't bring up last time. Like he was honored like an posthumous award at that time that we talked about. Now, not surprisingly, I've tried to get her on again, but she has never replied to me since. And she won't even reply to me on social media. I listened to her podcast during the pandemic. She had like a solo podcast where she was talking about her thoughts on life. And she's so positive. She occasionally dropped like an F bomb on this podcast. I was like, wow, she couldn't swear on my podcast. I don't know why. And yeah, it was kind of interesting. So yeah, that's my Victoria Price story.
Okay, come up with a scenario how I met Vincent Price and turn it into a story. Because my story, I'll tell you after, it's a little bit boring.
How you met him? Oh my God.
So don't try to guess how I met him. Just come up with, you're looking at me and you come up with a bizarre way that we met.
Well, I don't think he was overtly political in any way, but I'm sure he was a supporter of the veterans. I'm sure you met him at like a veterans event or something.
Okay. Well, here's what it was. I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, and I always wanted to meet celebrities. So I applied for a job at the airport
Mhm.
and I worked in the gift shop. And do you
Okay.
remember the little breath mints called certs?
Oh yeah, yeah. They were the comic relief specials were sponsored by them.
Oh, so
Throwback.
somebody comes up to the counter, and in my mind, I said, this is either a celebrity or a school teacher that I had. And I don't know which, but I know that if I get him to talk, I'll know who it is. So he
Yeah,
put, you know when somebody puts something on the counter and that's all they want. So he put the
yeah.
two packages of certs on the counter, like, this is all I want, ring it up. And I said, will that be all? Because they had to hear him talk to know who he was.
Mhm.
And he goes, yes. And I went, oh my God, he knew he was Vincent Price. I wasn't telling him anything new. That was it.
I remember I remember one time he was on a Dean Martin roast for Betty Davis, and he said that he's talking about how he was right, she was rivals with Joan Crawford. He says that Joan Crawford used to use Betty's shoulder what were they used to use her bras for shoulder pads, and he's about to go onto the next joke, and then he couldn't help himself. He started laughing at that. It was great. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah.
Hilarious. So that was great. You did some great stories, talked about the belly button. Tell me about this thing I in your intro where you're a sometimes comedian.
Sometimes comedian. Well, I did for 10 years, but I still consider myself one in terms of just being witty and quick. So that's what I mean by sometimes.
Yeah, you're funny. You're as funny as anybody else. So I would love to see you on stage. Do you go on stage from time to time nowadays?
No, because I've got to say, I moved to Modesto, and there are open mics here. I just haven't gone to any yet, but it's possible that I will. I do have videos on YouTube. They're a little embarrassing. I said some things that people would consider problematic, pre-woke and stuff. But it was coming from a place of just trying to be shocking and get a reaction, like Gilbert did. That's what I was doing.
Absolutely. I get it. I see a lot of that. So next time I hear of any comedians going to Modesto, I'll tell them
Modesto.
they should put you on the show.
We'll see. We'll see. You know, um, I don't miss the backstage politics of comedy. I do miss getting up. I just don't miss the bullshit. Um, it may happen. Who knows?
Yeah, I get it. What is it you would like to tell people who are watching this? You get like up to 5 minutes to just talk to the people,
What I like to tell what? I'm sorry.
to
Like,
anybody watching this. They're
oh,
not
just
necessarily watching it now, but they will be afterwards on my YouTube.
right. Just tune into the podcast. Get to hear me talking to all your favorite cult movie stars and musicians, and comedians and sex experts and so forth, and just pop culture historians occasionally and stuff, and just find out information in my weird, creepy, wacky world of no filter and candid talk. I think I've really carved out a niche with it, just the last 7 years of just getting better at doing it, that nobody will be disappointed. Everybody will hear something funny, insightful, amusing, and just plain interesting.
Yes. Well, what I like about you is that you had a strong bond with your grandmother and your mom, and now they've both passed on. So, what in your life of your legacy that you're going to leave are you doing in their honor to honor them and their past?
Well, growing up, I always said I wanted to be the biggest comedy star in the world and stuff. And even though that ship has sailed, at least I'm doing what I love by talking to the people that formed this latchkey kid that you see right now, and that that I can do this, and one of the many reasons why I do so many episodes and stuff is so that my parents in their later years they can see me do this, you know, and they listen, whenever I talk to somebody they're familiar with and stuff. I remember when I got Mary and Russ from Happy Days on the show, that was a huge thrill for them. That they were just so friggin' proud of me, and then Ed Asner, and then Tommy Chong. I was considered cool for a week in my hometown when I had Tommy Chong on. They were like, "Holy shit!" And I've had people tell me that's my best interview. I disagree only because I'm hard on myself. I liked it, but it wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, he was telling me the same stories he tells everybody, and I had so much to ask him that I didn't get to, because I only had an hour with him, and it was great. But yeah, I mean, I still love my Go Go's interview as being my best one because I
Which
got
one?
her to be my Go Go's interview with Gina Shock, the drummer, and how I got her to open up and be vulnerable. And I had her on the second time last year, and that one was more silly. In that one, we had gotten up early to do other interviews, and so by noon we were just tired, but we were just being silly and making each other laugh and talking about our favorite rock albums and Beatles and just silly stuff. And I was really happy about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, your podcast is very different from mine. Mine's very vanilla, template,
Mhm.
cut and dry, just the facts, man. I get it. It's a
vanilla,
dragnet kind of show.
vanilla Catholic. I like that.
But I'm kind of like if Barbara
Uh,
Walters was hot and funny.
yes, yes, you are.
I know I look like a wet German Shepherd that you dipped in the peroxide, but whatever. I don't care. I don't care. I'm too old to care. I
Oh my
made it
God.
to the point where I don't care. You've been a delight. Tell everybody where your podcast is and tell them any socials other than your podcast that you want to promote.
It's on YouTube. I post almost daily. This morning I did a great 90-minute interview with my high school assistant principal. She wrote a book, and it was a fabulous talk. One of the best I've done in quite a while. And so it's on YouTube. I post almost daily, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter X, and LinkedIn and Instagram. Tommy Kovac and stuff. People who go on Instagram will either be titillated or offended because I post all these dirty memes on there. Because I don't really take pictures of myself. Occasionally, I take pictures of my surroundings and stuff if my dog or my cat's doing something cute. But for the most part, I just post dirty memes on there, and I let people know who's going to be on the next day. I didn't do that before, but this is the first year I'm doing that. So everybody can go find me on there, and everything is all good in the hood, and I'm ready to rock and roll. And before I go, can I show you my belly button?
Yes, and then after that, I want you to tell me what you want it to say on your tombstone.
Okay. Okay.
Janini.
Yep.
We'll go, holy Toledo, it goes way in. Have you had
It
that
used to
checked?
No, it used to be a lot cuter before my surgeries. You see a scar around it. It used to be a lot cuter, I'll tell you. And it has a little crease bump here. It was never there before. It used to be a lot cuter. Okay, so what would I like to have on my tombstone?
Mhm.
Let's see. I don't like tombstone pizza, so not pepperoni and sausage. That's a that's a '90s reference. I would like my tombstone to say he did his best.
Oh, I love that. So, what is it?
Just simple.
Okay, here's the last question. I love to ask questions. Last question. People
Okay.
that are not nerds about pop culture, one thing
Yes.
everybody, no matter what age, one thing that you know that they need to know about pop culture?
Everything that happened in the past happened. Don't try to erase it and don't try to cancel it. Take it into consideration, learn about it. You don't have to agree with it, but learn about it. And there was a lot of stuff in the past that was just truly wonderful that is missing now. And you can learn a lot from the good stuff that happened in the past, because nowadays people treat people so awfully, and we need to get back to treating people kindly, because it's just so uncalled for. It's so inhumane. So learn from the past. Don't try to erase it or cancel it. Just learn from it.
Wow, I love that. Tommy Throwback Kovac, KOVAC. Tell them again where your podcast can be
Right.
found.
Yes, no S. I get asked. It can be found on YouTube. And yes, KOVAC, there's no S. I'm not related to Ernie Kovacs. I get asked that all the time. I had his stepson on the podcast, and he's like, yeah, you're not related to him. So, yeah, it's on YouTube only.
Super. Somebody, okay, one more question. This is the last one. One more
Okay.
question.
Go ahead.
Somebody in history died, and you want to bring them
Mhm.
back to life and interview them. Who was it?
Oh my God, probably somebody that was lined up to interview and they died before I could do it. Cindy Williams, definitely, because she was scheduled to come on. Me and her personal assistant, we went back and forth for almost a year and a half, and sadly, she passed before the scheduled date. And I know she feels bad about that now and stuff. But I would love to have interviewed Cindy Williams. I was a huge Laverne and Shirley fan.
I met her. I got a picture with her. Are
Oh,
you
really? When?
So she did that Menopause the musical. She started it.
Yes, I almost went to it. Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was in Laguna at the Laguna Playhouse, and my sister is and brother-in-law, they're ushers there. So when I'm in town, I get to help usher. So, I'm there watching the musical to meet Cindy Williams. So afterwards, I go up to her with my camera and I said, "Hey, Cindy, I'm a comedian. Can I get a picture?" And she says, "Sure. But I'm so old. Would you mind stepping back about 6 feet before you take the picture?"
Oh, that's
So I
great.
did. Hilarious. Hilarious. That
Yeah,
was really funny.
it was. Her and I could have had a great interview, and
Yes.
sadly, it didn't happen.
Who we kidding? You could have had great sex.
Who could I had great sex with? Oh my
Cindy
God, that is
Williams.
maybe, but like, let's see, somebody that was known for it. Maybe Marilyn Chambers or somebody.
What about Farrah Fawcett? Was she in your school locker?
She was in my school locker, but my first movie I ever saw was Cannonball Run, and I always remember her from that. I got into Charlie's Angels later, but to me, she'll always be that woman, Pamela Glover, in the Cannonball Run. And there's that moment when Bert sees her for the first time, and she's got see-through nipples, in which I cannot believe was never blocked out on TV. Maybe because it was so subtle, and back then you could kind of get away with it, but it always mind-boggled me how they never blocked that out. Yeah,
You've been a delight, Tommy Kovac. Thank you for your patience with all my questions. Come back anytime. You made
absolutely.
my day by coming on. Thank you.
Yes, Linda, and yes, I'll have you on a third time. And you shouldn't be so hard on yourself about the second time. You did the best you could, and you were so still entertaining. So I love you, Linda. Thank you so much.
I love
Mwah.
you, Tommy. You're the best. Thank you so much. You can take this off and I'll send you the YouTube one in about a half hour.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Bye. Bye, Tommy. Bye,
Bye
everybody.
bye. Later, dudes.